Yo guys, it's Chapo here. So, we've got the new Lasso iconic ability that's just dropped in the time capsules. We're gonna get straight to the point. It's fucking broken. It's just ridiculously strong. As you can see in the video straight up, I'm gonna go through the random build that's not so random because it's taken me a good day and a half to put together. Just trying to figure out the best way to use this lasso ability. Because the description's a bit of a weird one. It's quite hard to get your head around what the description's getting at. You can't test it properly because the dummies are bugged with it, and it gives ridiculously broken damage on the dummies. So I've been having to test it in Blackest Night raids for the last day and a half. So you're probably looking at it thinking, what the fuck's you doing? And first of all, where's Omega? Omega's gone. It doesn't really synergize with Omega because it doesn't give you Omega stacks. And you kind of have to hold down on the lasso for quite a substantial amount of time. So Omega's kind of pointless being there. You're better off just putting something else into the artifact slot. Um, let's get to the second point. This build is ridiculously overpowered for ads, for AoE situations. As you can see, there's just a quick flash of the scoreboard. I'm flying above everyone, and these are some, top DPSs. Yes, for instance, is one of the top DPSs on the server over here in the EU. Um, so yeah, there's that. But let's get to one of the issues with it. You can't have the full group running this build or this ability. If you do that, it's going to be a DPS loss. This has kind of introduced a new role to the the group, and it's essentially a buff DPSer. That buff DPSer is going to outshine everyone AoE. When it comes to bosses, you're going to be doing pretty average damage. I'm fire. I'm I've got a terrible power for boss damage anyway, really compared to your gadgets, your electrics, even your atomics, etc. They're all miles ahead of fire. The bar's got barely any fire attributes on anyway, so it's not going to make a difference. But stealth, for instance, with the ability that you get on gadgets, would open up a whole new world with this iconic. For the bosses, for instance, because you could pump out some extra damage, quite a substantial amount. So what's the loadout doing? So as you can see, we've got Word of Power on there. We've got Eye of Gemini on as well. We are pretty much popping that Word of Power on cooldown as and when we can to buff the group to get the EOG procs. That's essentially what we're doing. Why are we buffing the group? We're probably asking. Why would we want to do that? That's not something we've historically done as DPSs. Well, the ability Lasso essentially accumulates all of the damage that that target has received and then blows up and just destroys everything in its path. It's by reading the description, it looks like it's got some kind of below 50% health additional DPS modifier. I don't fully understand it, if I'm being totally honest, but that's what it's kind of coming across as in the raids when I'm testing it. When you're using the lasso against the ads and there's a lot of damage against that target, it's then blowing everything up around it as soon as they get below 50% health. So, yeah. Hence why on the bosses it's not doing that much. You're not getting that explosive kill damage that you would get on the ads. Um, ultimately, if you're gonna go full sweat mode, you probably would be better off running traditional boss loadout and rotation, and then just using this if you're ever on bosses with multiple ads, etc. So this specific boss that I'm on, this is really not a great place to use it for overall damage because you've only got these two bosses. It does okay, mediocre boss damage. I guess the benefit of it is because you're constantly buffing the group with the Word of Power, it does help in the long run. So if you're doing speed runs, etc., it may be that this is the avenue that you go down because you're buffing the rest of the group quite a lot with the extra crit from the world power and the extra EOGs that you constantly get. So that's kind of what the build is. If we were looking at the artifacts, so the artifacts, I've essentially dropped a mega. I've got Higher Gemini, I've got Trans, I've got Candle, I've got Ring, and I can't remember what the final one was, but it's one of the standard ones that we use. In terms of allies, I'm using the Flash, the supercharged passive, hence why I'm able to spam it so often, and Starfire with the weapon buff on the loadout to increase the might, because the way the ability works is it caps at 200% of your might, so you want to be able to get your might as high as possible. It would be really nice on powers which have got little cheeses behind them, water for example, which you can refresh your weapon buff, and the Starfire passive actually stacks. You can stack that up to 3 times and get your might really high on that. So, you know, there's other powers that this would work better on than what I'm currently using it on. And as you can see from the damage numbers, the overall damage, especially in the next clip where we've got the ads outside, it just absolutely fucking destroys. So, like as I say, this is probably a new must for the groups that we're going to be running, but we can't all be running it, because if we all run it, there's going to be no damage accumulated and it'll do fuck all damage. So it's probably best to only have one, maybe worth testing with 2 people in the group using it. My guess is it'll probably be best with just the one, because they're probably just going to override and steal the that below 50% health absolute boom that it has. It's probably just going to steal them from each other. So yeah, that's it. That's the build. I'm also using Constantine there as my main ally, which I would never normally use. Like, why the fuck would I want to be buffing other people and myself? Like, just with the might, yeah, that's great, but not everyone else. But the reality of it is you want to buff them, because the more damage they do, the more you're going to do with your lasso. I was under the illusion at first that, oh, I'm going to cast my lasso, and I'm only going to get this big boom at the end, which you do get a big boom at the end, which is capped at your 200%, but you also get continuous booms throughout the cast time of the lasso, and you get it as soon as the ad dies or goes below 50% health, I think it is, the one that you've got hold of, which creates these big massive explosions. So yeah, it's not as kind of wasteful as you think it might be to just stand there and hold it. As you can see, a lot of the time I'm standing there, throwing out a dot, getting my might up, standing there holding it, popping out word of power, and just watching things blow the fuck up. Yep. So there we are. That's the build. There's probably a lot more to it that can be discovered, that can be tested and worked out. I've only, been on it for a day and a half. This is the best that I've found so far. Without changing powers, which I don't want to do at the minute, because I've just got to fly, because I'm going to start tanking again. Primarily because the DLC is fucking trash, and I'm bored of DPSing. So yeah, enjoy it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you get something out of it. Yeah, enjoy it and start using it. It's all the best. Apple out.
you.